All right, welcome everybody. Week 3, day 1. We're going to continue making enemies and things like that. So go ahead and fire up your project. Some students were asking over the weekend, like, where can you get free trees and things like that? Because, you know, you could always make your own tree in Unreal Engine by, like, I don't know, doing like a cylinder, you know, and like a cone. There you go. It's a tree. Yeah, but that's just no. It didn't look good in the 80s, and it certainly does not look good now. So the good news is there's plenty of free assets under the free tab on the marketplace. So just hunt around for, always get the free for the month stuff, but look around in the permanently free collection, and you'll be able to find all sorts of nature packs with like flowers and trees and things like that. I've got a bunch of them on my library down here. I've bought very few things over the years. This one I bought, the landscape height map brushes, because that actually makes you able to make, you know, canyons and volcanoes and things like that that don't look like they were just molded out of like Play-Doh. Like you can actually make fairly nice looking surfaces with that. I don't remember how much it cost, but that I actually paid money for. Almost nothing else have I paid money for.
I don't think you're streaming.
I'm not streaming?
Yeah.
Well, I'm recording, so okay. It doesn't matter. So yeah, under my library, you can see I've got lots of things here. Dreamscape Nature, I've used that one before. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. There's issues with the lighting on the leaves. You have to like actually edit each of the models and turn on, I think, two-sided lighting and things like that. So, all right. Let's see what else is in here. Yeah, the Quixel stuff. There's a lot of free mega scans related to trees as well. So there's a lot of mega scan stuff out there. Just, you know, my advice is just you know, like Meadow Pack, right? And so it's got just tons of nature stuff out there that's really high quality. So that's, you know, they actually go out into nature and like 3D scan stuff. So just under the free Mega Scans tab, they bought Quixel, the company that makes Mega Scans, and they made their entire library free for use. If you use Unreal Engine, highly recommend it. There's just a ton of free assets on there. There's kind of no excuse to do the old 80s style, you know, tree with cylinders and things like that. Just find free assets out there, add them to your project, and let your hard drive cry. They're not small. Okay, so here we have back to like Fresno weather again here. I think it's gonna depress me. So I'm gonna go back to the sun, double click, rotate. I will have it more up, and I'm gonna search for the fog, which I thought I renamed, but I think it crashed and lost it. So the fog, I'm gonna drag that density down to 0.01, and I've got two fogs on here. We delete you. Fog density 0.01, there. And the fog in scattering color is orange, which is what gives it the Fresno look. So I'm just going to change it to 111, which is white. And now we've got kind of a misty morning kind of thing going on. It looks a little better, a little bright actually. So maybe 0.01, clear it out a little bit. Fog max opacity 0.01 as well. Maybe we want to hide the end of the world a little bit. Something like that. Okay, so that looks a lot better. It's not as depressing now as it used to be. So we're going to continue our exploration of making enemies today. And let your hard drive cry. Yeah. Okay, so last time we made it so that when we shoot these things, we can kill them.
Bruh.
Bruh. But now, let's make it so these sentry guns can shoot back at us. Okay. So we're going to do kind of the same. We're going to do kind of the same thing as before. So I'm going to double click on the Sentry Gun BP. And right now it's taking damage, but it doesn't inflict any damage. You can see there's nothing in here that has it do anything. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off doing it the wrong way. And then I'll show you kind of the better way of doing it. So if you are ready, let us begin. We're going to do something where every tick, the Sentry Gun is going to do damage to us. And we'll just start off with that. Whether it can see us, if it can't see us, every tick it's going to do 1 damage to us. And what is a tick? Well, you can think of it as like a frame. So when you have a video game, your graphics card will take all the geometry in the world, all the textures, materials, all that stuff, all the lighting, and it will produce a picture, right? And so it produces a frame. And if you are able to draw a new frame on your monitor fast enough, then the thing doesn't look like a series of pictures and turns into a nice, smooth movement. Movies run at 24 frames per second. Video games, we shoot for 60 frames per second. We want the screen to update 60 times per second. Ideally, better is better, worse is worse, but that's kind of a good place to shoot for. So, so there's going to be a problem with this, which is that the faster our frame rate, the more damage we're going to take. So if I go out and buy a more expensive video card, it's going to kill me faster. So this is a bad way, but let me just show you how to do it. So I'm going to start off, I guess, by just doing damage to the player. So I can get like get player pawn works, I guess. So this will get player 0. Okay, and I'm going to do the cast to third person character. Remember, that's something you always need to do to change the type. This thing is just going to give you some sort of generic thing, but it doesn't have health on it and things like that. So you have to turn it into a third person character. And then I'm going to hop over here into the third person character. We haven't done this one yet. Our third person character needs to have health added to him, right? Or actually, I think it's the female mannequin. It's Quinn. Manny is the male mannequin. Quinn is the female mannequin. So, mannequin. So we're going to make a variable over here. We're going to call it health. So you click on the plus, give it a name, and change its type to be float. Float is generally speaking what we use for health. You could use integers, but then you get into these weird rounding issues, like you take half damage, you take nothing, stuff like that. And I'm going to default the player's health to 100. Remember, this health won't appear until you hit compile, and then it will have a default value appear over here. So I'm basically going to do the exact same code for the player, the main character, as I did for the Sentry Gun. So basically, when I take damage, I'm going to reduce my health and set my health equal to the current health minus the existing health. And if it's less than 0, I'm going to die, and et cetera, et cetera. But before I even get into that, I'm just going to start with what I always do, which is called print string. Right? Event any damage. And so anytime the player takes damage, I am just going to print a string that says player took damage. Player took damage. And this will just be a nice, easy way of making sure that everything is working. Because in Unreal Engine, a lot of times you do something and just nothing happens. So I always start with that just to make sure that everything is cool. So every tick, every Sentry Gun is going to do 1 damage to us, let's say. So if I'm getting 90 frames per second, I'll be taking 90 damage a second from each Sentry Gun. So I'm going to die very, very quickly. Walls won't help me. Nothing can save me. I am going to die almost instantly, except I'm not actually taking damage yet, so who cares? So we're going to come over here, and we are going to just damage the person. So we're going to apply damage to the... let's see if I can connect it. No. There we go. If I can connect it, and I will do 1 damage per tick. And there we go. So basically, every frame of the game do 1 damage to the player. This is bad. Don't do it this way for realsies, but it's a good teaching device. Do you understand what's going on here? So each of the Sentry Guns, right, and I've got like a number of them, like 5 in the world or something, right? Each of the Sentry Guns, every time the screen refreshes, it's going to find player 1, and you can find player 1 this way. And we turn it into a third-person character that enables us to do this kind of stuff. And this, we will comment and we took damage, something like that. Compile, save, and then let's run it. And you'll see it will spam player took damage over and over and over again. Bruh. Bruh.
Bruh.
Bruh.
Bruh.
And then after they're all dead, I don't take damage anymore. Okay. The only escape is through death or killing all of your enemies. Okay. How much base hit points does a mannequin have? None. Like, health is actually something that you have to kind of come up with. There's a damaging system by default in Unreal Engine. There is no health system by default. You just have to kind of make the variable, you know, and then do it yourself. So now that we know that everything's linked up and working, let's do that. So come in here, drag out health. We will get our current health. We will get our current health, and we will subtract out the damage we took. Hit minus. I'm just hitting the minus key. Not always do the nodes on Unreal Engine, not always do the names here match what you actually type to get them, right? So if you type event any damage, sure enough, that's the name that appears here, but it's not guaranteed. Sometimes the things will not have exactly the same name as what you type. So if that ever happens, just ask me, like, I can't find this. Okay, so health, let's say our health was 100, we took 10 damage, our health will now be 90. And so I'm going to set the health, and I can do that a number of different ways. I could just right-click and choose set health, but I'm actually just going to drag out the health variable, and I'm going to drop it right on that output pin right there, and that will make the health equal 90, or whatever the new value is. Like that. Let's see if I can line it up. There we go. So every time we take damage now, it's going to subtract out from our health and set the health, and so we can just print string, I guess, again, just to make sure everything's working, and I'm just going to print the current value of our health. This dot thing here means it's converting types, print string, prints strings, and this is a float. Floats are green, strings are like that fuchsia color, and so it'll automatically convert for you from a float to a string, and so you will see our health go negative very quickly. Every frame, every sentry is doing damage to us. It doesn't matter if they can see us. It doesn't matter if we're hiding on the backside of a wall. It's just directly damaging our health, right? The only thing that stops it is their death. Okay. Again, we're going to fix that. So, yeah. All right. But, okay, this is working, right? So, basically, as a player, we are now able to take damage. And if we die, I think a lot of you would probably say, you know, destroy actor, right? Is that kind of what a lot of you are thinking, that we should just delete the main character from the game? What do you think? You want to try it? You want to see what happens? I can tell you it's not going to be good. Let's see how long it takes for us to die. No, we're dead. Okay, hang on. Play. And we're dead. Alright. Oh, that's that. Sorry, we die immediately because it's not even if we go below 0, right? So let's add a branch in here. So it just kills us immediately. But you can see what happens. Like it doesn't work very well. Okay, so if health is less than or equal to 0, then delete ourselves. Yeah, this will check to see if we're dead. Compile, save, and then we're dead. And so, not great. Have you ever heard the term built different? Because I definitely don't feel like our character is built different with how fast he died. Yeah, this feels like Path of Exile right now. in the higher tiers. They revamped how high-end monsters work. They added a system called Arch Nemesis for monsters. We get these like super crazy powerful abilities, and then they decided it would be really cool if just routinely you encountered monsters that had 3 of these superpowered abilities at the same time on them. And what's happening is that people are just dying. Like, I'm glad I'm not playing hardcore right now, because in hardcore you can die once, right? So, okay. So if we die, what should we do? I think maybe we should play a sound. Actually, let me show you something cool, which is called delay. So one of the neat things about delay is that while it's delaying, it won't trigger anymore. So if like I take damage for like a fifth of a second now, I won't. It won't go past this point. It actually just stays at this point, and it kind of allows you to kind of rate limit how often things happen. So I'll pause for 0.2 seconds. Then I'm going to play a sound 2D. So that just comes right out of your speakers, called bruh. And then we will just, like, what is it called? Load map. Load level. Let's try it out. And so we're just going to reload the map, is what's going to happen if we die. Is that the right node? I can never remember the name of the thing. It might be. No, I don't think that's right. Sorry, it's not load level, it's open level. There. Open level. There you go. By name. And you just type in the name of the map that you want to load. And so if you go back into your content browser, you can find starter content. Let's see here. Third person maps. Third person map. I think that's the one we're on right now, right? Let's save everything first. Save all. Yeah. So that is that. Okay. So I'm just going to third person map. Okay. So if we die, we're going to load third person map. Make sure you type it right. Okay. And so if we die, then play. I'm dying. Oh! That's how quickly I'm dying. See it just twitching. Yeah, it's not even a chance to say bruh. Okay. So the only thing keeping us alive is that 0.2 second delay and the split second to die. Yeah, we're just... Yeah, probably should do something else, but whatever. Let's delay for a second. Okay. So... And it's good enough for now. The main thing we need to fix actually is the incredible amount of damage we're taking, right? Because this is kind of silly. So do you all understand what we did here? What we did here is basically exactly the same as what we did in the last class, right? Every time we take damage, we subtract out the damage from our health, and then if we ever drop below 0, we die, and we have some death code. And death is a little bit different for our player because it's kind of like the main program, and so if you delete the character, like weird things happen. So what we're going to do is if we die, it just pauses for a second, and then it reloads the map. And we should probably do other stuff here, but this is good enough for now. Y'all with me? Cool. It says game over. Yeah, you could do that. There's all sorts of things you can do when you die. Yeah, I've done game over screens before. You can pause the game. Because the trouble is, like, you die, and then the world keeps running. You know, it kind of looks weird sometimes. I think just for now, though, I'm just going to leave it like this. Okay. So, but yeah, absolutely, Jake. You can definitely do that. Okay, so what we want to fix, I'm trying to save and won't let me. Do you know how to fix that issue? So you got to, like, save all or whatever. Or you got a hard drive space. Okay, so yeah, if you can't compile, that could be a thing too. So there's a couple different ways we can resolve this issue. So the first thing we can do is actually add that delay node into here. And so if we added a delay node, no, not you. We added a delay node into here. Delay node is, of course, a town in the middle of Central California. If we added a delay node into here, then what will happen is, you can delay for like 1 second, is that the Sentry Gun will fire and pause for a second before it actually does damage and all that kind of stuff. And all the other event ticks are going to be triggering, but it won't do them because when you're in a delay node, all the other ones will just get ignored and thrown away. And so this actually has the effect of reducing the firing rate of the Sentry Gun to 1 per second. And you can see I can actually make it quite a ways until I die. It's doing like 5 per second to me, I think. So it should take like 20 seconds for me to die. Maybe? I don't know. There we go. Now I died. Okay. I'm not printing the health anymore, right? So that's one way you can do it. So you can just, this is essentially your firing rate, right? Another way you can do it is you can get the current time, and if the current time is past, a certain delay, you fire. That kind of stuff. Another way you can do it, though, and this is actually really important, is you can, let's say you have like damage per second here. Make a new variable, damage per song per second. So you have a value called damage per second. Compile, save, and you want to do like 10 damage per second. Drag that on to the damage. Right now, every frame, we're doing 10 damage, not every second. So what we need to do is normalize our damage value. So if the frame rate is higher, if the frame rate is lower, we do the same amount of damage per second. And we do that using this little thing here called delta seconds. This was actually one of the first things taught to me when I started working in the industry, which is you basically see how long it's been since the last frame. So if you're getting 30 frames a second, delta seconds is going to be 1/30th. If you're getting 100 frames a second, it's going to be 100th. The higher your frame rate, the smaller delta time is. And what you do is you just multiply this. So you asterisk, multiply. And you just multiply. Let's wire it this way instead. You wire it up like this. And so basically your damage per second gets multiplied by delta seconds. The higher your frame rate, the more often you're going to do damage, but the less damage you do for firing. And so this will normalize the damage to do exactly 10 damage per second. And since we've got 5 Sentry Guns out there, this should kill us in exactly 2 seconds. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. And it's 3 seconds because we added that 1 second delay until the map reloaded, right? 1, 1,000, 2, and then we're dead. And then there's like that 1 second delay before it reloads the map. Okay. So that is, remember that, we had a 1 second delay on there. So it takes 2 seconds to kill us, and then after we die, we're given 1 final second to say a prayer, a poem, and then we collapse to the ground dead. Okay. So do you all understand this concept here? It's actually really important. Anytime you do something per tick, you need to, that's why they give you delta seconds here. You can actually get delta seconds like, you can actually get it like this way. But they give it to you on event tick because anytime you do something on event tick, like if you want to move forward a meter per tick, the higher your frame rate, the faster the thing's going to move. And so you always multiply however far you want to move by delta seconds. So the more often it moves, the shorter it moves. And it just balances out so that it always moves the same amount per second. Okay? This makes sense? Now there's still a problem here, which is that it's damaging us even if it can't see us, right? So let's fix that. So how can we tell if the Sentry Gun can see us? Out of the things that we've talked about before, touch, trace, and think, which one of those 3 tools are we going to use to see if we are in front of the Sentry Gun? Trace, yeah, very good. And it's going to what we want to do is basically have it shoot like a laser beam at us, right? And if we're like behind the rock blocks the laser beam, and it's like, oh, I can't see the player. Or if we're like behind a wall over here, can't see the player, I can't damage it, right? That's kind of what we want. And then we can add in like a line of sight kind of thing to it later. But let's just start with this, okay? So let's move all this over like to the right, always. And what we want to do is do a line trace. And there's lots of different kinds of traces in the game. You can do a sphere trace, you can do a multi-sphere trace, line trace, capsule trace, box trace. We're just going to do the simplest, which is line trace by channel. And line trace by channel basically uses the visibility channel, which means can you see through the object? And if it can see through the object, it'll shoot you and damage you. That's not always exactly what we want, because maybe there's like a glass wall or something that it could shoot us through, but it's kind of good enough for now. So what is the starting location of this laser beam going to be? Where should the laser beam come from? What do you think? Like, we got this Sentry Gun thing here. The center of the ball? If we just took its actor location is right here, right? So it'd actually be shooting us from, like, that spot on the ground. We kind of, like the logo, yeah. And so let's see if we have some way of marking that in 3D space. So let's go around here. And we don't really, right? So we're going to add a scene component to it. Remember how we did this last time? This is how you can name things in space, right? So we're going to add a scene component, and it's parented to the ball, okay? And this scene component we will name firing spot, okay? And right now it's down there between the feet, or equivalent of feet. And I'm just going to move it out like this, okay? And now, no matter which direction the ball moves in, the firing spot will go with it. So if it did move, which it's not now, the red line is forward. Does that look like it's forward? It kind of looks pretty good to me, I think, right? What do you think? I mean, maybe it should be tilted upwards a little bit, you know what I mean? Because the ball is kind of like facing upwards a little bit, but like red, I think, is in. What do you think? Looks pretty good. Like, at least red is pointed in the right direction, right? The red is forward, green is right, and blue is up. Okay. All right. So now that we've named this spot in space, we can come back over into our thing, and we can choose firing spot as the starting spot of the over here, get world location. So we're gonna grab the location of firing spot, and that will be the place where the line begins. Now, if we were to run it right now, let's turn on draw debug for duration, so it'll draw a line for 5 seconds. And you can see all of the Sentry Guns are now shooting at. Oh, I'm still dying, right? They're all shooting at the Velociraptor. Remember how I told you how important that was to know where your Velociraptor was? You saw all the lines were pointed at it. That's because we don't have anything put in here. So anytime you see lines like pointed right at the world origin, that should be like a mental note to you, like, oh, we need to set that place. So what direction, if we want to shoot at the player, what direction should we be shooting at? What should we use for the endpoint here? What do you think? I think the player's location works pretty well, right? So I'm going to drag out of here and just type get world location, or get actor location should work. Yeah. So I'm going to get the location of the player, and that's going to be the ending point. Let's see if I can move this around so it's not. There we go. Okay. So the firing spot is where the laser is going to start from. The player's location is where the laser is going to end. If we run it now, you will see that they are going to be shooting at me. See, look at that. Every frame. It's beautiful, right? Red means that they're hitting me. Green means the laser was occluded. Okay. So, good. And that looks pretty good to me, actually. It's shooting like at my stomach, which I guess is fine. Is that coming through on the microphone? It's probably coming through on the microphone. Yeah, it's just the rats. There's construction on it. Okay. Yeah, they're kind of aiming at the Iron Man thing, right? And that's probably okay. Okay. So, what we want to know is... What I want to know is, did the laser actually hit the player? So, let's just do... But hit actor. Let's do this. Let's just do a little print string here, and let's just see what they. And I'm gonna delete these extra Sentry Guns out. Right? They're gonna be confusing the matter. Right? So I just want to have one Sentry Gun for now. It'll just cut down on the amount of spam that I have to deal with. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna print the name of the actor that was hit. So I'm gonna drag from the output hit actor to print string. It automatically will get the display name of it. And let's just see what that says. So it's not hitting me, and I'm pretty sure I know why. But there, it's hitting the rock, and you notice how it says it's not hitting me. Okay. And the reason for that is because the player is set to not block visibility. So in order to fix that, you come into the BP third-person character, click on Viewport, under the Mesh, your collision settings, set to character mesh. So you can see here, it ignores visibility traces, right? So we'll just set this to custom. And so right now you can see it's ignoring a visibility trace, right? It's blocking a camera trace. Maybe we should use camera trace instead. Yeah, let's try that and see if that works. Over here, trace channel, we'll try camera trace instead. Let's see if that helps. Okay, so it's hitting BP third person character, hitting the rock, hitting the person character. All right, that works. It's kind of beautiful too, right? So that's every frame it's shooting us, right? Kind of cool. It's like a rhythmic gymnastics kind of thing. Okay. So again, the change that I made was you can make the third-person character block visibility traces, or you can choose to have the trace itself use the camera trace. There's kind of pros and cons to both approaches. So I just did this. It'll be easier for now. Okay, so now that we know that, if the person hit, I wonder if this will work. If the person hit was player 0, then it may or may not work, actually. Let me see if it works. String. Hello. We'll So if the person hit is player 0, then it prints hello. And right now we're hitting the rock. Okay. So it's not doing that. Okay. So what we got here is I pulled over from the player pawn, so I dragged from the player pawn over into here. So I'm basically saying if the person who is hit is player 1, then we're gonna damage them. If it's anybody but player 1, we're not gonna damage them. Okay. And the amount of damage we're gonna do is based on that equation we had before, where we do 10 damage per second. So every frame we're gonna be damaging the player, and multiplying by delta time times damage per second. So basically, the player is going to be taking 10 DPS from the Sentry Gun. So if we do this, I think we should be good to go. So this guy is damaging us. I need to take damage for 10 seconds plus 1 second of delay time after dying. And then it should reset the map like that. Good. Whereas if I hide behind the rock here, I'm not taking any damage at all. Is there a way to make the Sentry only shoot from the front? Like, I don't think it should be shooting from behind without rotating. I agree. Like, right now, it's damaging me, right? And that, in fact, great setup is going to be the next thing we're going to talk about. I just want to make sure you guys understand what we're doing so far. What we did so far today was we made it so that the Sentry Gun is going to trace to the player, and if the player is visible, we damage them. Now, we need to add if they're in our line of sight. Okay. The Sentry is cheating. It was way cheating before, where it's just like, take damage. You're on the other side of the world. Take damage. That was something that I discovered when I was writing bots back in the day. Like, any AI bot has access to all of the player's data, right? So you just be like, you're at 0 health, dead. It's a really unbeatable bot. You spawn into the world, you're dead, touch of death, you're dead. There's absolutely no reason that the code has to play by the rules. So... frame 0 counterplay. Yeah. It really irritates me too when video games read through the input buffer so they know what kind of move you're going to do in the future. That is super cheating. Elden Ring bosses reading inputs. Yeah, it's super cheating. It really bugs me. Okay. So now we need to add in a field of vision, right? FOV, field of view. Are you all familiar with this term? Like right now, like I could see this remote in front of me, but like if it goes too far to the side back here, I can't see anymore, right? So I need to define some area where like the Sentry Gun's like, yeah, I can see the player, I'm going to shoot him, and if you're like behind it, it's like, I don't know. Okay. So how do we do this? Well, linear algebra. Linear algebra is so important. It's always been kind of weird to me that linear algebra is like the last math class we teach here, because it's kind of not that hard and it's also kind of important. So let me fire up OneNote. Yeah, like we treat like linear algebra like with like differential equations and like multivariate like it's like way up there in math, and it's really not that hard. So we will do dot product as our discussion for today. So we're going to use this tool called dot product. Okay. And so if you have a Sentry Gun, like we have our little cue ball thing there, and you got a little player here. Okay. So here's the point of the player. Here's the center point of the Sentry Gun. There's two concepts we need to go through today. We need to go through what's called a displacement vector. And we need to talk about something called dot product. So the displacement vector is, if this is our sentry here, right, and this is our target, the displacement vector is how far would the sentry have to travel to get to the target. Okay, so if this guy is like 10 meters east and like 5 meters north, then the displacement vector is a vector of length square root of 125, 11, a little bit over 11 meters. So the target's like 11 meters away and change, and pointed in this direction, like in the northeastern direction. Okay, so this is something called a displacement vector, and we get it very simply. We take the target's location and we subtract our location. So if the target is at 40 east, 40 north, and we are at 30 east, 35 north, 40, 40 minus 30, 35 equals what?